Joining me now is Rastegar Property Company CEO Ari Rastegar. And we're going to get to real estate in a second, but you were born. I mean, you're Iranian.
I'm an Iranian-American, absolutely. Yeah. And I heard what the president said recently about, distinguishing between the Iranian government and the Iranian people. And I have a lot of hope that there is a deal absolutely there to be made, because the people should not be confused with the government.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point, and again, far be it for me to get over my skis. I am merely the 5 a.m. news anchor here at Fox News Channel. But if Trump is able to accomplish this, do you think that gives the people of Iran some hope and then potential oomph to potentially overthrow the current regime?
I think it's a very difficult question that we've been debating for 40 or 50 years. But I do think that hope should always be picked over hostility. And I think that any type of hope we can get in this situation is just going to be better for everybody, and certainly better for business.
Well, and it was nice to hear President Trump talk about the Iranian people that have just been suffering for decades under these regimes, as you know, and I'm sure you and your family have discussed many times. Let's move to your other hat here is real estate. Texas's Y'all Street. We've talked about it on the show. It keeps growing, in particular in the Dallas area, because a lot of these banks, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, a lot of these, they're actually moving down to Dallas and getting away from New York. We understand that, and I know the state really wants to have pro-growth, legislation. This is Governor Greg Abbott. He's had a series of bills he's signed that enhances the state's corporate legal framework, and then that reinforces the reputation, as for Texas in particular, is a friendly jurisdiction. And then you've got the Texas Stock Exchange, which launches early next year. Your company's got a lot of developments going on around all of these breaking news stories. How's that playing out for you right now?
Look, it's a really exciting time. And the thing, capital goes where it's treated best. And I think what Texas is showing now is that Texas knows how to treat capital. When you attract companies, like Tesla into Austin, and for the record, Austin is not in Texas. Austin, you can get there in about 15, 20 minutes. But when you see what's happening in Dallas with the Goldman Sachs campus, 4,000 to 5,000 employees in office is not just an office, it's a statement. And, when you see the Texas Stock Exchange, I think this represents, the decentralization of this, monopoly that New York has had on the capital markets. Goldman has been in Dallas since the late 60s. J.P. Morgan has a huge office there. Bank of America elected, to build their new office there and stay. So this is going to be very exciting. And, across the street from Goldman, we're building the tallest building, in that uptown area, which is also going to make a big statement to say, the executives and the jobs and the people that are coming, we're going to provide them the type of housing and the type of infrastructure that's going to make them want to stay.
Right, exactly.
And I think it's helpful to note that I believe Texas does not have a state income tax.
It does not, and it's a big deal. Governor Abbott, I think, has done a phenomenal job for a variety of reasons, and being on the forefront of innovation, even from a Bitcoin standpoint, passing a strategic bill recently to bring mining to Texas. And you look at the Permian Basin, it's the largest oil reserve on the planet. So you have the power, you certainly have the space. Right now, I think the ground zero for the future of the financial markets is really in Texas.
Well, and we saw after the pandemic, so many of these hedge funds, private equity guys, they all headed down to Florida. Texas is saying, wait a minute, we can actually give you something maybe even better, in particular from a real estate perspective. I mean, that's with the housing prices, because Florida kind of went over its skis a little bit.
I think that's right. And I think one big statistic is we have a desperate need for housing in this country.
Right.
And if you look at the median housing price in the state of Texas, it's $330,000. Okay? In New York, it's over $600,000. This is a stark difference when rates are where they are, and the Fed and their infinite wisdom has not brought them down, which I believe that needs to happen sooner than later. But Texas has already added over 600,000 residents in 2024. New York lost 600,000 people. So real estate at the end of the day is about people, and when you look where the people are going, the money's going to shortly follow it.
Yeah, that California influx. I know that from many of my friends in Dallas. They've said they're like, boy, I've got Californians buying every every home around me right now. Just don't bring the politics. Real quick, I want to ask you about this. There's a new piece in the Wall Street Journal about Austin. You mentioned Austin a minute ago. Being not Texas, I agree. I don't think Austin is Texas either. But it says that their reign as a tech hub might be coming to an end. And there's this new report from a VC firm, Signal Fire, that in 2024, big tech employment declined by 1.6% in Austin, and that startup employment fell 4.9%. What's going on in Austin that people are leaving?
You know, look, that's a cute headline, but, you know, people are entitled to their own opinions. They're not entitled to their own facts. And the facts are, when Samsung is building a $17 billion semiconductor plant in Austin, this little company you might have heard of called Tesla is there with their new headquarters. Oracle has their second largest office in the world there. And this other company you might have heard of called Dell, you know, look, there was a lot of exuberance at the beginning that raised prices, and the exuberance has been tempered, admittedly, but you're still double digits up in growth. You know, the national average of tech jobs in terms of the overall economy, on average in a city like Austin, is around 9% of the job force. In Austin, it's still 20%. So a 1% fluctuation here or there in a market of uncertainty does not speak to the overall growth or the market of the city, certainly not to Texas.
Interesting take on that, Ari. Well, it's great to have you here in our New York studio.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure you'll be happy to go back to Texas pretty quickly.
You know, I'm enjoying my time here, absolutely.
All right.